Hello and a very warm welcome to this latest edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. And my guest today is a computer scientist who is viewed as one of the leading experts on developments in the IT sector here in Germany. She's also an uncomfortable and insistent warning voice on issues such as data protection, government surveillance programs and data retention. And here she is in person, Constanze Kurz. Thank you very much for joining us here today on Talking Germany.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Now, Constanze Kurz has been described as a leading civil rights activist, but at the same time, she says that her biggest hobby is computer hacking. How, some might ask, does that fit together? Well, we will also be talking about the world of work and how it's organised and what the future has to hold there. That is another area where Constanze has a lot to tell us. But Constanze, I first of all want to go back to that question. You are a civil rights activist on the one hand and a computer hacker on the other. For you, that's probably the most normal thing in the world, yeah? For some people, like myself, it doesn't quite fit together, or at least I ask myself, how does it fit together?
Well, actually, there are a lot of digital human rights. And that's what I'm fighting for, actually. The world is dominated, of course, from technology. We use it every day. We are, in a way, dependent on that. And so somebody has to fight and be an activist for those digital human rights.
But that means, as a hacker is a person who breaks into things.
No, not really.
Oh.
The term, it's a bit more ambivalent, I guess. Of course, hacking is breaking in a boulevard press and the yellow press. But the German hacker community considers themselves as the white hat hackers. We have hacker ethics, and we try to separate from the criminals.
Yeah, but let me. I really need to understand this. You have the capacities from the comfort of your own home before you come on this show, Talking Germany with Peter Craven, to find out more about Peter Craven than I would possibly like you to know.
Well, that is possible, but that is not a hacking skill.
That's got nothing to do with hacking.
No, that's more using information system in a professional way. It's not hacking, really. But in the sense of hacking as breaking, I have some capabilities, but I'm not an online banking hacker or something, and I never did that. You're
one of the good guys. This is what you're trying to tell me.
Sure.
We'll talk about good guys and bad guys later. You are you're a computer scientist, you're viewed as an IT expert, a very prominent IT expert here in Germany. When was your first encounter with a computer?
This was in the eastern part of Germany when I was, well, I don't know, 12 maybe.
12 years old. In East Germany, you had a computer that you had access to.
It didn't even look like a computer as we know it now, because, well, it didn't have really a large display. It was quite small, and we were trying to learn BASIC, which is a programming language.
Oh, yeah. And was it love at first sight?
No. No, not really. No. We had a computer for, I don't know, 3 or 4 of the pupils, and you never even get the chance to try anything. It was more like a lesson. It was not love at the first sight.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Constanze Kurz, we haven't mentioned this yet so far, but it's coming up, she's the spokeswoman of what is called the Chaos Computer Club, which is Europe's largest hacker group. I was fascinated to discover that this influential organisation has a history that goes back 3 decades. Let's find out what it gets up to. Fascinating stuff. Some very old footage there from 30 years ago. And you recognise some of the people there.
Sure, yeah.
And are the people you recognised, are they still hackers? Is it? I mean, people say once a Catholic, always a Catholic. Is it once a hacker, always a hacker?
I guess so for the most of the members. But there are just few in the beginning, 3 dozen people.
Exactly.
But we have 3 generations of hackers right now. And some are grandfathers already.
Fascinating stuff here. What are the Chaos Computer Club? What are the goals of the club? Are they formulated?
Yeah, they are formulated. Of course, that is very German. We formulate our goals. But it's not. It's a community that actually came into place because people searched for other persons who use computers. 3 decades ago, that wasn't a normal thing to do. And so the founding members, they search for other technology and computer people.
So it's a computer communication club in a lot of ways.
Right. It was about sharing knowledge, sharing ideas, sharing hardware. Okay. And of course, it had a political agenda from the start.
Well, what's the political agenda then?
The political agenda is about freedom of information, about the right to hack. That's, of course, about data privacy, but also the machine-readable government. So we have a lot of political goals too.
Okay, we're going to talk about privacy in just a second. What are the? Why is it called the Chaos Computer Club? Why not the Neat and Tidy Computer Club?
Well, the chaos is not only in the name. It was, well, the chaos is for hacker a positive term.
It's a way of life.
Right, in a way.
Yeah. What are the rules? What can you not do?
We have the written hacker ethics, which is a kind of normative ethic, okay? But it's also about talking with each other if you come to gray areas. And it's the knowledge transfer between older hackers and younger people trying or learning to use computers. It's quite important. And on larger events, which we also have a hotline, an ethics hotline, where you can call and ask questions before you press enter.
Okay. On all these issues about freedom and about the digital world, the Chaos Computer Club is viewed as extremely influential here in Germany. It's viewed as pretty influential in the media outside Germany as well. It's often quoted, often used as a source. What does that tell us about Germany? Does that tell us that Germany is somewhere at the forefront of these kind of debates about freedoms in the net?
I guess we had a lot of public debate, large, years-long debates about technology, about regulation of technology, use of technology, and especially about data privacy, data retention. That was really a large discussion on high political spheres. And the Chaos Computer Club is mostly known for, of course, its technical expertise. If you want to ask somebody to understand, like, government malware or possibilities that come with data retention, then the hackers are the persons you can ask, and we give answers. It's mostly about explaining technical systems.
Well, that's interesting. The role of giving answers, of explaining, as you put it. You were actually invited to be a member of a government commission on IT and the net and what have you. What was your contribution? What did you say?
Actually, in the German Parliament, they had that commission. And they tried really to figure out the different political and technological topics which future governments have to regulate. And it was more like a discussion, not only about technology, because it was more about like how we want to deal with those technology which is in everyday life, in working life. It was really important that the Parliament did that.
Do you accept that the Parliament, that the state, it is part of the job of the state to regulate this sector, yes or no?
Yes, surely.
You do accept that?
Yeah.
But what you were saying about the Chaos Computer Club's sort of ideals and sort of manifesto made it sound to me as though you guys want to regulate yourselves.
Yeah, but you have to make a difference between information freedom, which we want in any possible way in the machine-readable government, and the internet as a commercial place where you need regulation, because it's, well, all about money and all about using the data and misusing the data, and you need regulation. It's
about using and abusing people,
right,
in the widest sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
How much pressure? I mean, you're telling me that you were allowed to speak to the government, you're allowed to put your point of view forward, your expertise forward. At the same time, I can imagine that you're viewed, I mean, you've taken the German government, or you filed a criminal complaint.
Right.
I'm being very careful about about what I'm saying here, against the German government for aiding and abetting illegal and prohibited covert intelligence activities. Yeah, right. You were part of that. The CCC was part of that.
It's ongoing.
That makes you, as far as the government is concerned, a troublemaker. Have you been put under pressure as a result of being a troublemaker?
No. maybe some members of the government see me as troublemaker, but
I'm sure the British government does as well, because there's been a similar case brought partly under your initiative against the British government as well. Yeah.
But that's on a higher court. That's the European Human Rights Court, because the Britons, of course, they ratified the Human Rights Convention.
Yeah.
So that is a different case.
Which sometimes they regret doing. Yeah.
Well, yes, sometimes.
True, the government.
But we will try if laws and those contracts will help us against those secret services. And maybe some see me as a troublemaker, but I had a lot of support, overwhelmingly support from all over Europe as we had the press statement about that case. That was really interesting that most of the people really supported us. And they even want to send me money and stuff to help. And well, I don't need it therefore, but there was a lot of support and that was good.
That's interesting insights. Okay, we've talked already about computer hacking and computer hackers, and we still haven't really answered the question, are hackers good guys or bad guys? We could talk about the Club Matte, but I would like to Glamour.
Yeah, I heard
What do you make of that? There's glamour in the hacking scene, yeah?
Well, I don't see that much glamour, but maybe some hackers, I don't know. We have some hacker stars, actually, who really...
Well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and they are well known.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, talking about stars, to use that word, we don't need to, think about glamour too much. 20 years ago now, Stephen Levy wrote a book called, the title exactly, Hackers, Heroes of the Computer Revolution. Are hackers still heroes?
Maybe in some sense. What Stephen Levy does was actually a portrait of the former hacker community. And the hacker mindset doesn't change that much. It's all about, sharing your knowledge, hacking together.
But you guys, you say sharing your knowledge. Maybe I'm just too narrow-minded. I almost certainly am, because I just don't get it. Yeah. Why would you share all your knowledge when the sexy thing about being a hacker is that you have access to new knowledge that other people don't have? That's what makes you the special hacker. So why should you share it with the other guys? Well,
you don't want to invent everything again. You want to reuse knowledge and experiences some older hackers made. And that is really part of the hacker spirit, to share that. That's important because you don't have to do it over and over again what somebody already does.
What's wrong with having ideals? Do you know who said that?
Oh, I don't know exactly.
You did. I did. In an interview, I was going to ask you a question about it, but you're talking about ideals all the time.
Well, I have
No, let's stick on the ideals. You were going to mention black hats and white hats, yeah? What's that all about?
We try to separate from criminals. Actually, criminal hackers don't use the term black hats. It's more like a media term. But you have to have terms because hacker means both. Means like being an ethical hacker and being a black hat and steal someone's money. And so...
Exactly, because you're talking here about the idealism of hacking the whole while, and I'm thinking... But these guys are trying to break into my bank, account.
And we will never get too. Yeah, we will never get over that negative connotation. And my mom keeps telling me that
it's always good when people start telling about what their mum is saying. Go on.
But in German public...
No, your mum.
Well, she wants us to change the name Chaos in the Chaos Computer Club, and maybe not being a hacker anymore, because she knows the negative connotation of the term.
No. Okay. Hacktivists, are you one of those?
Sure I am. Because I'm hacking stuff for political reasons.
Okay. We've talked a lot about data protection, or we've mentioned data protection, and we've talked a little bit about privacy. You know as well as I do that there are an awful lot of people, less so in Germany, it has to be said, an awful lot of people say, why is privacy so important?
And they don't even care. Yeah, and maybe it's a majority, I don't know, of the people. But if you talk about privacy, you have not talk about the majority, though, but for individuals. And it's even a basic human right. And you don't have to defend yourself if you fight for that privacy, because It's a basic human right. And I guess in Germany, the discussion is a little bit different from other states. It's more intensive, and it's a large public debate. And even when Chancellor Merkel's mobile phone was tapped, the discussion not really changed, because we have that for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. We really have a public, a media debate on start pages. And that is different from other countries.
But you still, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you still haven't explained to me sort of philosophically what is so important about privacy.
I guess it's a basic thing every human being needs, that part of the secrets, maybe of the medical condition that you have, or, I don't know, the money you own, that is private. And I guess it's what makes a human in a way. That
but you know that a lot of people in Silicon Valley, sort of the messianic community in Silicon Valley, they all say privacy is, you know, it's a sign that you have something to hide.
Yeah, sure. But let's be honest, it's all about money. I mean, the Silicon Valley companies just want to make their business case. They don't care about privacy. It's more like an ideology to tell people that privacy era is over. But I don't believe that, because I think we will find back to a more like an equilibrium. So the wild data west will end, I guess.
Oh, yeah. But you, again, when you talk about idealism, and you're talking about like your CCC people, and then you say, and we're different from these, you know, the criminal hackers. Okay, that's two classes of people, two different classes of people. There's also, you know, every time I pick up my newspaper, it's telling me that the next global conflict is going to be some kind of a cyber war, and the hackers are going to be the elite troops, as it were, the elite forces. So there too, for me, in my little world, hackers are a problem.
Hackers are a problem in that case. We learned from the Snowden files that there are really a lot of thousands of hackers paid by Secret Service to do that cyber war operations, to bringing malware to computers all over the world. I mean, we have a problem with hackers, unethical hackers, that it's nothing that I would deny, but we want to separate from that. We want to say, you can use your hacking skills for good and ethical reasons. And especially we want to separate from the Secret Service, I guess, of course.
Have you ever been offered or asked for your services by criminal hackers?
It was just one time. It was just a question, and I took it as a joke, because I'm publicly known as a spokesperson for the CCC, and it would be quite dumb to ask me. But we have that cases from
where
some
people have
members.
drifted off into the criminal element.
Right. If you have special skills, special knowledge, then you maybe will be asked, or you don't even notice it really. You just come in situations where you notice, okay, here's something wrong, and there's a gray area that's not, it's between black and white somewhere, and you don't want to go to the black area. We have that. That's part of the everyday experience for many hackers.
Okay. Something different, as we have seen, Constanze was born in East Berlin at a time when that part of the city was still the capital of communist East Germany. And she's been quoted as saying that the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the communist state was the biggest present in the whole of her life, best thing that happened to her. The question is, she's nodding as I say that, the question is, how typical is she for her generation?
Arne Lietz was just 13 in 1989, but he still took part in the protests that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall. This photograph shows him at a demonstration in autumn '89 in his hometown of Güstrow.
It was an exciting time. As a kid, you didn't know exactly what was going on, but you knew a lot of people who attended the first protests were nervous.
Now 38, he grew up in a religious family. His father was active in the peace movement and frequently got into trouble with the state. Lietz would have undoubtedly found life increasingly hard if the Iron Curtain had not come down.
I would have led a very different life. It would have been hard for me to complete school, and even if I had, I probably wouldn't have been allowed to study what I wanted.
For Lietz, the fall of the wall on the 9th of November 1989 was a liberation. Around 2.4 million East Germans were under 18 at the time. Today, that generation sees itself as very fortunate.
I think we all grew up with an implicit understanding on the part of our parents, our teachers, and indeed society, that we were or would become West Germans.
Adriana Letrari grew up in the East German city of Rostock. 11 years old in 1989, she watched the fall of the wall on TV. In 2010, she founded an initiative called Third Generation East Germany, which now numbers around 2,000 members.
Our goal is to provide a platform for people to address their past.
That past includes formative and often challenging times. Many had parents who struggled to retain their footing in post-reunification Germany. But while they might have lost their jobs, the younger generation enjoys undreamed-of opportunities.
We know that a political system can be replaced, so we have wider horizons. And I think that we have a greater willingness to consider alternatives and seek solutions.
Adriana and others her age were the lucky ones and will go down in history as reunified Germany's first generation.
I suppose, Constanze, the first question is, where were you when the wall came down?
Actually, almost asleep, but my parents woke me up to take a look into the television, of course, because everybody was watching the news.
You were asleep. I was in the bath. I'd been for a run and the people I were living with came home and said, "What are you doing in the bath? The wall is coming down." So we went to have a look at the wall coming down. You said it was the biggest present in your life, the best thing that's happened for you. Yeah, a present, a gift.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because traveling around the world was really, the freedom to do that was really important to me. It was like opening up the world. As an East German person, you couldn't even imagine to go to New York. It was really like traveling to the moon. And as the wall came down, it was opportunities you couldn't even imagine before. It was a problem too, because you have to decide. What are you supposed to do with your life? And it was much more determined.
You have to reinvent yourself a little bit, There was one woman in the piece who said that she felt as though she was under... Because big West Germany sort of took over East Germany in a lot of ways. I think that's...
Yeah, but I liked it. If I went to West Berlin first time, I was impressed because it was almost colored, or marketing stuff, and of course, and it smelled good. It was quite different, and the Western pop culture, we loved that. At least for me, as a teenager, it was a good thing.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And when you meet people of your own generation, because this piece was about your generation, you were, I don't know, how old were you when the wall came down? 15, 16?
Yeah.
When you meet people who are your age from the former East Germany, do you sort of think, we're the same sort of people, or were the differences in East German society so great that doesn't sort of work?
It is a topic sometimes. Yeah. If you hear specific terms, then you notice, okay, this is someone from Eastern Germany. Yeah. And then it's mostly that you start talking about it. What did you do after the wall came down? Because, well, we share a history and a specific education, which was different. We read different books in school than Western pupils did, and where you have a connection.
That's important. I mean, it's where you grew up. It's where you spent your formative years. Yeah,
of course. And I like Russian literature and stuff, and most Western pupils didn't even know.
I can understand. Yeah, we saw in the report right at the beginning about the CCC. We saw really quite young people in East Germany with computers, and you said yourself at the age of 11 you had your first sort of experience with computers. What happened to all that? When did these German authorities begin to think we don't necessarily want to have these people with their own computers collating their own data?
I guess in the eastern part there were not many problems, but the wall came down a little too early for the Eastern government to see the problem, that there are maybe hackers, because the computer development wasn't that far, and where the connected computer world, actually. And after the wall came down, the two hacker communities, at least in Berlin, they merged, actually.
Oh, yeah. As a reporter, I am very often asked around the NSA and the Edward Snowden story. You know, people will say to me, Germany went through two dictatorships. There was the Nazi dictatorship, there was the East German society, very authoritarian, very heavy on control. And that makes people in Germany particularly sensitive to, you know, these kind of things. And that's something that I quite often say when I'm reporting from Germany. I say that that is a truth about Germany. Is it true?
I guess it's definitely true, totally true, because in almost every family you have a member who has his own personal experiences with the Stasi. And the GDR was actually a surveillance state.
Yeah, but I mean, you could... Well, what I often think at the same time, though, is I look at Angela Merkel, who grew up in East Germany, yeah, and her telephone was bugged, yeah, and she knew that that happened. She was clearly sort of a little bit annoyed about that and told President Obama so. But then quite quickly after that, she said, let's get back to business as usual here.
Because it's not about surveillance. For her, it's a question of power, a question of technology and communications, and who knows who would talk about what with whom. It's a question of power right now. The whole NSA scandal, it's not about the privacy of people, it's more of like an economic question. And economic espionage and power, because with knowledge comes power. And I guess she is a politician who knows that. And so she didn't even address her own history in the GDR. She should have, but that's very dissatisfying.
It's missing, isn't it, a little
yeah,
bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
She should stand well in front of her population and really defend our data sovereignty against whatever secret service that's tapped the phones here and collect all that data on a massive scale. But she did not, because she depends on the US and UK Secret Service services. That's a problem. But I guess we will change that. It's a matter of time.
Oh, OK, we'll wait and see, yeah. As I said earlier in the show, Constanze isn't just an influential computer scientist, she's also an authority on the world of work, and specifically what they call the fourth industrial revolution. Before we hear more from Constanze on what she has to tell us there, let's just get a sense of the latest developments when it comes to automation in the workplace.
It's still in the early stages. However, slowly but surely, machines are taking over our lives. Self-driving trucks will be on the highways in the foreseeable future. The remaining obstacles are now legal rather than technical. Elsewhere, developments are more advanced. Like in the cowshed. The cows have become used to Juno, the feeding robot, which has a built-in ultrasound sensor. It follows a routine and dispenses feed at pre-programmed intervals.
We love our Juno robot. It does its rounds 12 times a day, and the animals love it.
Even milking is now done by a robot. The machine collects up to 60 liters per cow per day. This robotic dairy farm in Saxony has been in operation for about a year. The Gnashwitz Agricultural Cooperative invested a total of 5 million euros. With about 500 cows, it's paying off. A robot even cleans up the manure. That's one job no one's complaining about being done by a machine. And as the boss explains, fewer workers is good for the animals.
The advantage is that people are pretty much eliminated, and the animals are left by themselves to live at their own pace. They can feed, be milked, or just lie down whenever they feel like it.
A robot ensures there's fresh sand to lie on. And the cows get a welcome shower. Robotics is also changing the face of journalism. This text was generated by a robot. The software was designed by a U.S. company, Automated Insights, a pioneer in the field of automated journalism.
There's already so much we look to machines for advice. And I'm not sure a lot of consumers are fully aware of where the machines are interfacing and where they're not. But if there's big data to be analyzed, machines can simply do it more consistently. And when it comes down to trust, what you want is error-free analysis.
Automated Insights uses a unique algorithm that searches for trends and key insights within a given data set and creates personalized articles. It can generate up to 2,000 articles per second. It's efficient and economical.
Robojournalism is going to go places because media enterprises of all kinds are pressed to tighten their budgets every way they can. You'll see that to the extent they can use data to automatically produce stories, they will. That's no replacement for the human writer writing about human stories.
Nevertheless, Forbes magazine already has its financial reports generated by an algorithm, while the LA Times uses it for earthquake reports. It's unlikely that automated journalism will ever make human reporters redundant, but it might well have an effect on the job market.
We'll talk about journalism in just a second, because obviously it's a concern for me. But you've written a book called Arbeitsfrei, which means sort of you don't have work anymore in a lot of ways, and that can have many different interpretations. During the research for the book, and it was a year-long journey, what did you discover?
Actually, we discovered that a lot of fields of work are really in the near future or quite now today are really connected with software or robotics or any kind of automatization, more than you would maybe think nowadays.
Do you have a percentage for the jobs in society? How big that is?
Well, that would be a future question. Nowadays it's maybe 20–25%.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. But it also means that you work together very closely with software or robots. But in the future it can be likely 50% or 60%. They are really fields of work which you formerly wouldn't think that can be done by a computer or by a software. It's also decision making. Everything which is measurable, which you do in your work field. And that is quite interesting to see because it will happen very fast. It's a very dynamic development.
One aspect of that, it's interesting that you talk about what can be actually measured, because these days every sort of job that people do is being measured ever more closely.
Right.
And it seems to me that one thing that happens, that can lead to more efficiency, for sure, but yeah.
Well, that's maybe not the only goal, but efficiency is quite important in the working field. But it's also, you are sometimes reduced to be a software clicker, because the software tells you what to do, and that is your work life. The efficiency thing is a problem.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. But also, all the people doing a similar task, maybe in one, working place, or maybe across the whole country, can be then readily compared with each other. And the ones who aren't sort of up to scratch, get rid of them.
And you see every minute or even second, if you maybe take a look out of the window and think, and it can be measured. That's of course a problem. But not only that, but also if really your whole work is done by a software, computer or robot in the future, so that there's no work left.
We had the example of the farm, and I know you've visited farms. You've maybe possibly even been to that same farm, where I'm not sure what the figures were, but like 50 people had worked there.
No, not 50 people anymore.
Had.
Yeah, that's right.
Reduced
even
to
more...
2 or something like that, yeah? What happens to the 48? That is one of the big questions.
They searched other fields of work, and it was a long process because it were decades long. But nowadays, the changes are much faster. You have, 5 years, and then all, the people who are sitting on bicycles will be maybe automated vehicles. The decades where you can change the education and the knowledge of the people, you don't have that anymore in that fast computerization. And that is a problem which we want to point to in that book, that we have to have a discussion right now, because there are a lot of fields of work which will be done by machines.
Now, at the end of the show, we traditionally have a Talking Germany quiz. Today is no exception. Constanze, quick questions, quick answers, yeah? Do you represent the establishment or the underground?
The underground.
Oh, no doubt about that for you. Okay. Do you prefer chaos or order?
Both, sometimes.
Your apartment at home, is it chaotic or orderly?
Oh, it's more chaotic.
You're one of these nerdies, yeah?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Capitalism or communism?
Oh, I like communism much more as an idea.
Oh, yeah, that's very unfashionable these days, of course, yeah. Edward Snowden, is he a whistleblower or a traitor?
He's a whistleblower, definitely.
Is the future for you a fascinating or a frightening place?
Of course, fascinating.
Good, yeah? That is all we have time for this time round with the fascinating and very committed Constanze Kurz. If you've enjoyed her company as much as I have, do come back next week. Until then, bye-bye and tschüss.